Your number one job as an entrepreneur is to protect your personal confidence. Okay. That is what my mentor, Dan Sullivan, taught me. If you don't have confidence, okay, you will reject opportunity and you won't see it. If you do have confidence, you will be drawn to that opportunity and take action.
Welcome to the No Limits Podcast, where limits do not exist, where you can create cash flow, equity, and real freedom with the power of real estate.
3, 4. Now, we will begin.
Welcome to the dojo. The dojo.
How to feel and sound more confident when you are talking to motivated sellers. That's the topic of today's show. Now, if this is the first time you're listening to the show and you have not been over to nextlevelwholesaling.com and taken the Next Level Wholesaling Assessment, you got to head on over there. This is going to actually rank you in the 4 core areas of your real estate investing business, whether it's marketing, acquisition, disposition, or accounting. You've got to take the wholesaling assessment. It's going to spit out a score, and you're going to see really that next spot that you need to attack, that when you hit that, it's going to explode your real estate business so that you could begin to step out, build the team, make more money, build more freedom, and really, really start to enjoy the advantages of what this business can provide. So go there, download the assessment, take it, and I'd love to hear your score. If you are listening to this on YouTube or on Facebook, just tag me, or you want to send me a message on Instagram. Send me your biggest takeaway after taking it. It's totally free. I initially created it for me, and after I started taking it on a regular basis, I said, man, I've got to share this, and the feedback has been phenomenal. So go to nextlevelwholesaling.com and take the assessment. It's completely free. All right, so let's jump into how to feel more confident, right? How to sound so sure when you're talking to a motivated seller that they are excited and motivated and they have certainty in doing business with you. So I'm going to give you some very, very, very specific skills to use. Some of these are mindset, and then some of these are actually habits that you can implement right away. All right, so number 1 is stop breaking promises to yourself and others. Now, this is really, really, really important. Self-esteem is built by keeping promises to yourself. Okay, if you say that you're going to send out 2,000 mailers a week and you do that every single week for 3 months, you start to believe in yourself. If you say that you're going to work out every single day, right, with the exception of 1 day a week, and you do that for 90 days, guess what? You start to believe in yourself, right? If you say that you are going to spend 15 minutes with your spouse a day, completely uninterrupted and focused, and you do that for 90 days, okay, your confidence in your relationship is going to go up. And so if you now become a person who believes that you will follow through on promises that you make to yourself and others, your confidence will go through the roof. Now, I know this podcast is about how to feel more confident when talking to motivated sellers, right? But we've got to start with the internal, right? The internal before we look at the external, right? So if you know that you can close, or you can get the money to close, or that your sales skills are up to par because you have put in the work, right? You have bought the no limit selling system, you've poured in, and you've done the work, right? You've made the phone calls, you've generated the leads. You are a person of character. Your confidence is going to go up. Okay, so number 1 is keep the promises to yourself and others. Very, very important. Number 2 is to commit to talking on the phone with motivated sellers 5 days a week and making 20 phone calls every single day. Now, this is the bare minimum. I would love for you to do 40 or 60. And by the way, if you're building a team, right, you can hold your team accountable to that. If you have an acquisition specialist, my recommendation is that they're making at least 60 calls a day. But if you're holding a job and you're working at this part-time, you got to be working 5 days a week, and you've got to commit to be making 20 calls a day. And if you do that, you are going to generate at least 1 lead a day. And when you have an influx of leads, okay, your confidence is going to go up, right? Again, this is more internal because you know that more leads are there. These little seeds that you plant, that you cultivate, and that you harvest, right? You're going to start to now understand the cycle of business. And now your confidence is going to come up. Now, I know I'm going to get into the nitty gritty of actually talking to sellers here in a minute, but this is the habits and the internal game that are really, really important. That's going to set the base, right? The Bible says, do not build your house on the sandy land, right? And so if your mind is messed up and you don't have leads, right, your house is gonna crash, right? So let's build this on a real foundation. Okay, number 3 is you've got to role play a script, right? Don't go out there shooting off the hip. I've had so many people who think they are good at talking to motivated sellers and they have no plan, right? They have no base to work off of. And so my recommendation is go out there and purchase the No Limits selling system. This is the system that I have used to train my own acquisition specialist to go out and close over 1,100 deals in my company. And I've also trained thousands of investors using the very same principles in the no limit selling system. And so if you can't afford the ridiculously low investment, you can listen to this podcast and get bits and pieces and definitely start to go make more money. But my recommendation is to buy the no limit selling system. So you can go to nolimitsalessystem.com and get 3 free videos on some training. If you want to buy it, you can also go to nolimitsalessystem.com/backdoor. But go there, listen to it, role play with it, understand it, absorb the information, and your confidence is going to go through the roof. Okay, number 4 is practice using this phrase. I'm not sure we're a fit. I'm going to repeat that. I'm not sure we're a fit. Okay, this is the ultimate confidence builder. When you are not begging for a deal, when you are not pleading, when you refuse to compete, when you refuse to grovel, and a seller knows that you are willing to walk away and that you are going to push them away versus trying to pull them into your world, your confidence is going to go through the roof, and your seller is going to feel this. And if there is a deal to be had, they're going to start to chase you, right? If it's not going to be a deal in the first place, if there's no motivation, if you can't help them, okay, they may go the other way. Well, great, because once you say that ultimate power move, now you could save your time and start working with the motivated sellers, because the truth is not everybody is a fit, right? And so now we could spend the time with the people who are motivated and really, really, really need your help. Okay, number 5 is go out and generate a lot of leads. Okay, I touched on this earlier, but if you are not generating leads, your confidence is going to be in the toilet. Your pipeline is going to suck. You're not going to have any people to follow up with. Your confidence is going to be down because you didn't do what you said that you were going to do. So you got to plant seeds every single day, right? You can cold call, you can do direct mail, you can do ringless voicemail. You can text, you can build referrals with real estate agents, you can do pay-per-click advertising, you can do search engine optimization, you can work your referral network, you could work with other wholesalers. I don't care what it is. Go out there and generate leads every single day, okay? I'm going to repeat that. Go out there and generate leads every single day, because if you are not doing this in your business, your revenue will not be there. And revenue, I got to tell you, one of my mentors told me, cash equals confidence. This is going to be very important. Cash equals confidence. And when you got cash in the bank and you've got a thick pipeline, man, your confidence is going to be through the roof. You know, one of my mentors, Dan Sullivan, he says your number one role as an entrepreneur is to protect your personal confidence. And that's why I made this episode. I know I'm diverting a little bit into why this is so important, but you got to protect your confidence. So this is why the episode, I'd listen to this twice if I had to. Okay. Number 6 is refuse to get in a bidding war with a race to the bottom, right? I see so many wholesalers going out there and trying to pay the most for a property just for the purpose of stealing a deal from somebody else. And I got to tell you, you're going to waste your time. You're going to blow your confidence. You're not going to make any money, and you're probably not going to get the deal anyway. And you're going to miss out on that giant wholesale deal because you're begging to do business with someone who really you're offering no value to. So one of the things that we always look for our company is saying, listen, I love to be the only person talking to the seller. How do we find more of those deals? And so if you get to a point where you're talking to a seller and they've got 8 people coming over trying to compete with you, and they just want the most after you dig deep. So one of the things that we talk about in the no limit selling system is to try to find out hidden motivation with a seller, right? Because sometimes sellers have more motivation. There's an area that you can help the seller that other wholesalers can't. And so you want to ask that and you want to try to find that and get the deal that way, and then get the deal at a spot where you can make a giant profit. But if you can't do that, right? If everyone is willing to work for basically no money, get the heck out of there, right? And find a deal with some meat on the bone. Your confidence is going to go through the roof, and your competition, okay, they are going to get exhausted working for $2,500, all right? So look at this as a huge advantage. Let everybody else work for no money, okay? This is not you. And by the way, if you're a private client of mine, and if you did this, I'd wring your neck and rip your head off, okay? I'm always going to really choose and train you and brainwash you to go out there for giant deals. If you want to know more about one-on-one coaching, by the way, you can go to nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/coaching. All right. Just heads up, we are really selective on who we take on. You must be already doing deals and have a successful business, and you must be really fun to work with to be considered for that coaching program. All right. Number 7, you want to get cash on hand to close. I absolutely love wholesaling. I love to be able to flip contracts without cash or credit, but there is a real confidence booster that if you can take down a deal with cash, right? If you need to close in 48 hours without a buyer, right? That you can do that. When I started getting cash available, once my business grew to a spot where I didn't need other people's cash, then I started negotiating with a lot of confidence. I mean, I knew that I could close a deal in 48 hours, and I would tell the seller, listen, why don't we go over to the title company right now, and I'll put $5,000 in escrow. By the way, you don't have to do this, right? And you'll have your money in 48 hours. Let's do it, right? And we started to do that, and we started to get some massive deals because of that competitive advantage. Now, if you don't have that, or if you have not listened to the other episode on this podcast on raising money for your deals, I did a whole episode on that. Just make sure that you've got a really, really robust cash buyers list. Okay. Now, I'm not talking about the cash buyers list that you get from other wholesalers. I know a lot of people do that. That is the cheesiest thing I've ever heard, is buying someone else's wholesale buyers list. It's just full of other wholesalers and buyers who don't buy. And so what I'm going to recommend is I have some other podcast episodes on building your own cash buyers list. So I'd recommend doing that. But one of the best ways to build a cash buyers list, if you're not selling on the MLS, and by the way, this is also not to replace not having your own cash on hand, is to go to the auctions, right? Go to the auctions and meet the people who are bidding at the auction steps for properties. These people who bid at the auction right now in this market, they're used to paying obscene prices, not seeing the inside, closing on the county's terms, and closing in a very, very short period of time. And so you can go down there and meet someone. I actually put an old video on YouTube where we just sent an intern down there. He was 21 and he used to go down there once a week and get cash buyers for us. And really, we built our entire business off that auction buyer list, right? This is before we started putting properties on the MLS. Right now, we just list everything and get top dollar that way. But number 1, you want to start building your own cash reserves. Number 2 is you want a very, very thick cash buyers list. And 3, if you've got a list on the MLS, right? Know that you can do that and listen to other episodes on this podcast. Number 8, learn how to stay silent. Shh. Do not use filler. When you ask a question from a seller, I want you to use open-ended questions. Not ones that require a yes or a no, but ones that will elicit a response 100% of the time. Okay, so for example, tell me a little bit about why you're selling. And then zip it and keep your mouth quiet. Okay, what is your plan if we don't do business here today? And then listen. What is preventing us from doing a deal today? Right? What is your plan B? Now, most wholesalers out there, most real estate investors are so busy using filler, right? By trying to spout features and benefits that they cut off sellers, that they don't have the boldness to ask the right questions. They only ask questions with a yes or a no. And they're too scared or too timid to ask the question that they think will kill their deal, right? So one of those questions is, tell me who else you're talking to. And then just listen, right? Don't be scared of the answer. Don't use filler, right? Because when you use filler, the seller is not talking. And so notice even on this podcast, as I'm talking right now, it is hard for me even to not talk for 3 seconds, right? It feels like an eternity, even in the studio, right? So what I'd like you to practice is asking an open-ended question and just listening, right? So I'm smiling ear to ear right now because it's so hard for me to even when I'm by myself ask a question of you listening to this, right? And pretending like I'm quiet, right? And so the more that you can do this, man, your confidence is going to go through the roof. And when you're quiet and not talking, sellers sense that, right? That nervous energy where you're just gabbing, right? The seller's going to pick up on that. And so if you're just quiet, you don't say anything, and you look at the seller and let them talk, you're going to start to extract information to let you know whether you've got a real deal in front of you or a dud and where you should be spending your time. Okay, number 9 is laugh at yourself and have some fun. So one of the things that we do with our acquisition specialist is I say, look, we've got to have some fun, right? I want you to bring the call that you got kicked in the teeth on, where you said the perfectly wrong thing, where you sounded like an idiot, no judgments. We just want you to be better, right? So I want you to do that with yourself, right? Go out there and make some mistakes. So one of the things I always recommend is if you want to take some reps without talking to a seller on a Saturday or Sunday, just go to a garage sale and start using the techniques I talk about on this podcast for negotiating for stuffed animals for your kids. So my kids, I've got 4 young kids, and they were younger. They used to always love stuffed animals, and these things are like 12, 15, 18 bucks. And they're like, Dad, buy me this, buy me that. And I'm like, no, if you want more stuffed animals, which they have so many of, right? Let's go to garage sales and you're going to negotiate. And so we did that. And I taught them how to negotiate and to buy stuffed animals for no more than a quarter, right? If it was $2, they'd ask for a quarter. Now, a lot of times they got them for free. And they learned, how to hustle, right? And so not to pay a retail price pretty much for anything unless there was a really, really thought out reason to do so. So go out there, make some reps, make some mistakes, laugh at yourself, and then also get on the phone and make some mistakes with sellers, right? Call some old leads, mess up, laugh at yourself if you've got permission to record. On inbound calls, by the way, my recommendation is that on inbound calls, just put that little recording that says for quality and training purposes, this call is being recorded. And it's not awkward at all on incoming phone calls. And so record your incoming phone calls, listen to yourself and coach yourself and say, what would I have done better? And laugh at yourself and get better. I mean, that's going to be so, so, so important. Listening to yourself and then correcting that one area. A little tip here, this is number 9.5, is don't try to correct everything at once, right? Work on one skill at a time. So I have one acquisition specialist on my team who is just so good at building rapport. I mean, he is like the best, rock star, legendary, the GOAT. I mean, he just calls all sellers, mom and dad, right? If they're over 50 and they just bond with him. But one of the areas that he really needs to work on is going deep, right? Asking the hard questions when someone talks about motivation, just not really finding the root cause. And so because he's so good at building rapport, he usually gets the deal. But there are other deals that he missed motivation because he just was not getting deep. So I said this week, okay, instead of working on 15 different things, I just want you to focus on asking 3 levels deeper. So if someone says something that indicates a pain, ask another question, that's level 2. And ask another question, that's level 3. Okay. And then ask another question, that's level 4, right? That's 3 levels deeper than he was before, right? Again, going down that same path to get more information. So just use one skill to work on at a time. In that case, it was just digging deeper. I talk a lot about that, by the way, in the No Limits selling system. If you haven't invested in that, you should. NoLimitSalesSystem.com. Okay, now, number 10 and the finale is always be enthusiastic about buying the property with the seller, but with this caveat, okay? But be clear that you are enthusiastic only if you can buy at a price where you can make a profit. Okay, very, very, very important. So many sellers out there or new wholesalers, they want to be reluctant, which is good, but they put off this like weird, awkward vibe, right? And so you want to have confidence that just looks like, you can close on this deal tomorrow, that you're certain that you can make it happen, that nothing could stop you. But, okay, it's got to be on your terms. And so something that we'll do is I'll talk to a seller and say, Mr. Seller, I'd love to be able to buy this property, but just a caveat, right, is that as an investor, I have to find a way to make a profit. So listing might be the best option. We might not be a fit. So just a heads up, we'll come out there, but if we can't make a profit, we're just going to direct you to somebody else. Is that fair? Yes, that's fair. Okay, so knowing that, is there a reason for me to come out? And then just listen, right? Just listen and hear what they say. So very, very important though, you can show enthusiasm, but be reluctant. You've got to have that certainty. Okay. So I'm going to do a quick review here. Very, very important, and implement these. You don't have to do these all at once. Remember, just work on one at a time. Remember, your number one job as an entrepreneur is to protect your personal confidence. Okay. That is what my mentor, Dan Sullivan, taught me. If you don't have confidence, okay, you will reject opportunity and you won't see it. If you do have confidence, you will be drawn to that opportunity and take action. Okay. Remember, number one, stop breaking promises to yourself and others. Okay. Easiest way to do this, right, is number one, stop making promises that you can't keep. I left that out of the podcast, right? But start keeping the most important ones that you make to yourself, right? Your fitness, your phone calls, your marketing, your spouse. Okay. If you keep promises to yourself, your confidence is going to go through the roof. Okay. Number two is commit to being on the phone 5 days a week, right? Or having somebody else being on the phone and making at least 20 calls. If you are working at this full-time, that number needs to be a lot higher. And your team members, if they're working full-time, that needs to be a lot higher. Minimum is 20 calls a day. Number three is you want to role play from a script and use the No Limits selling system. Okay, you can't win the game without practice. Number four, practice saying, I'm not sure we're a fit. Number five, generate a lot of leads. Number six, refuse to get in a bidding war with a race to the bottom. Number seven, learn how to stay silent. Do not use filler. Ask open-ended questions. Listen to your calls, okay? If you have incoming calls recorded with, obviously, notification to the seller, okay? Number nine, listen to yourself and have some fun. Go to garage sales, joke with yourself, work on one skill at a time. And number 10, always be enthusiastic about buying the property with the seller, but be clear that you will walk if you cannot make a profit. All right, so I hope you enjoyed today's show. Go out there, generate some leads, close some deals, make a giant profit, and I will talk to you on the next episode.